Hello, this is the Final Shots podcast where we talk about sports, movies, and everything in between. I'm James.
And I'm Tara.
And welcome to today's show. So, Tara, take it away with the movie section for today.
So, with at risk of being the Twilight podcast, we have finished the whole series now, James.
We have indeed.
And what are your thoughts? Has it changed from last week?
Well, firstly, I would like to say we will for sure not make this a Twilight podcast.
I wish it was.
Even though maybe that will surprisingly give me a glimmer of joy. Such is my experience of the Twilight series. So we watched the last 3 movies.
Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 1, Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Sorry, apologies.
A lot happened. A lot has
happened. And Twilight can be many things, but it can give you a laugh for sure. I've gone back and forth, and I've decided that of the 5 movies, my favourite is Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Bad choice.
Well, as I've heard, apparently a lot of people don't like Breaking Dawn Part 1, but I'll give you a few events that happened, and you guys can tell me whether you think it was a great movie or not.
Spoiler alert, everyone.
Yes, for those who haven't seen Twilight, go pause the podcast, watch all 5 movies, and then jump back on. Okay. So, Breaking Dawn Part 1. Highlight. Bella she gets pregnant. So...
Somehow.
So, can a vampire and a human make a baby together? Well, Twilight has answered that question. It is a resounding yes.
But should they? That CGI baby was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen.
That was an experience at all. But...
It was better than the Chuck Esme, though. Do you know the Chuck Esme? I've showed you the mechanical, doll.
Oh, yes.
That
That is terrifying.
The CGI. It makes the CGI look great, you know?
It makes Chucky look cute. But this movie, highlights. So, Bella gets pregnant, and it's a vampire baby. And what do vampires love, Tara?
Blood.
They do indeed. And what's in a human body that is in bountiful supply?
Blood?
Yes. So being pregnant with a vampire baby is a recipe for disaster. So much so makes her essentially, I guess, anemic. Like, she looks so thin. And credit to Kristen Stewart, who I assume lost a lot of weight for this, at least this part of the role. She looks bone thin. And there's a point where I think the baby just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And... she just snaps her spine, essentially. It was an amazing scene. Horrifying. Twilight, they say it's a romantic series.
Supernatural.
Is a horror. It's a bloody horror.
Honestly, I think that's the genius of Twilight. Like, last episode, we were talking about, she broke up with Edward, and, it was all this kind of melodramatic stuff. This stuff's just dramatic. Like, what is happening? Like... Okay, James, we haven't talked about the best part, though.
Okay.
you know what I mean, right?
Ah, yes. Are we talking about the Jacob situation? So...
Oh, but how did this get made?
So... Okay. So throughout the movie, Jacob has talked, or even movies before, they've mentioned this phenomenon called, I can't remember, Tara. Imprinting, right.
Do your research before the podcast,
yes, apologies. Clearly professional in the Final Shots podcast. But imprinting essentially means the wolf, man, take your pick, creates an incredible bond. Essentially, it's love there, or also just, I guess, up for interpretation. Yeah. But in general, it's who you, I guess, love the most, and it is romantic charged.
Yeah, it's like a symbiosis, it's I would say, kind of the inspiration in nature is like imprinting, where when like a goose has goslings. Ryan Gosling.
Ducks, maybe? I don't know.
But basically, the baby geese, when they're born, the first person they see, they think is their mother. So sometimes when you have eggs that hatch without the mother geese, they imprint it on the human that they're with. You see this in zoos all the time and things like that. So it's just to defend Stephanie Meyer just a little bit, I kind of get what she means in the fact that, you know, Jacob doesn't necessarily you know, maybe it's like a fatherly connection with the baby. It's a little odd.
Later in the movies with this, we find out obviously it's not, right?
I mean,
considering the visions.
I mean, it starts off saying, you know, he could be a brother, a lover. It's just a lot of weird stuff when you're talking about a week-old baby. Or like a day-old baby. It was literally just born.
Yes.
And then they use that to explain why Jacob has loved Bella this whole time. It doesn't make sense.
So, unless this is Game of Thrones, love and baby... brother and lover should never be things that are together. And so, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Jacob imprints on Bella's newborn baby.
Renesmee. Also, James, I don't understand why you don't think that's a weird-ass name.
Renesmee is much better than EJ.
Oh, EJ.
We might be cutting ahead here, but EJ is the combination of Edward and Jacob. And what does that mean? So she named her own child between her one lover and a tryhard, basically, Jacob. Quite a weird name.
If it had been a male baby. But that also confused me, because look, Stephanie Meyer is willing to talk about weird-ass... Like, we talk about the weird relationships in Twilight. So, Edward, who's a 108-year-old, marrying a 17-year-old, right? A little weird, but, like, I guess they're both, like, physically children is still weird. Bella falling in love with a wolf, that's, like, bestiality.
She never falls in love with him, though. So, poor Jacob.
Yeah, the whole imprinting on a baby thing, that's... Yet, I'm fairly sure if that baby would have been a boy, that would have been a no-no zone for Stephanie Meyer. I don't think... I don't know what the Mormons think, but for some reason you have all these relationships and not a single gay one.
So...
Bit wild.
We've finished the last three movies, so if you watch that movie just on its own, I guess, I think you could argue with Jacob that because of, I guess, these... Even though it's not his baby, let's make that straight, right? The father definitely is Edward. It's a vampire baby. But the Jacob's clan were attacking the vampires, I guess, getting scared of what this baby might turn out to be. So in a sense, Jacob was protecting this baby. So, you know, that's quite a noble act. Because I guess imprinting, you can't really rub off. You can't just not imprint, I guess. So you're forever bonded with this baby. So in that sense, maybe he was doing it to protect her.
But you keep saying this, it's not a choice. He didn't choose to imprint on the baby. I'm so confused by...
I know, but in that act of Bella means a lot to Jacob. So in that sense, he just wants Bella to be happy. So the best thing he could do was to protect her baby. Hence, by imprinting him.
But he didn't choose to. What are you talking about? You literally just said you can't choose it.
But subconsciously, he just wants to do that. That's how much he wants to impress Bella. That he wants to protect.
I feel like you've taken the wrong point from this. But you know what? Fair enough. Teach their own. I think Twilight is kind of like the Bible in the way that there can be many different interpretations.
Wow. Okay. So we've lost a lot of
So moving swiftly on. To actually, before we do, just very quickly, because like we said, we don't want to spend too long, even though it is a masterpiece. The end of Twilight, the epic fight scene.
Yes.
Yay or nay?
Yay.
Controversial.
I would say yay. So I guess what Tara is referring to there is so this is now Breaking Dawn Part 2. If you thought Part 1 was great, now we're on to Part 2. So there is this, so Edward, you know, the Cullens create a mini army because they know the Volturi are coming to, I guess, fight them. Or that's what they're assuming, right? So they've got, essentially in the end, there's a fight scene between the Cullens, the werewolves, and a lot of other pretty cool vampires with cool special powers, and they fight the Volturi. What happens though is that it turns out that fight scene, after, you know, quite
Carlisle died.
Shocking deaths.
So many people died.
Like, I definitely was quite shocked. But it turns out that whole fight was a vision by Alice.
Wicked. I never like it. It's the worst choice ever. And yet, it's I can't think of an alternative that would have worked.
So, Tara's told me how the book goes. Apparently in the book, they have a conversation, have a good day, then they...
Just fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off, basically. So I guess you wouldn't want that in a movie. But having the battle as a vision is such a cop-out.
True.
Such a cop-out. And it's inexcusable.
And it never works. Apart from in Twilight. Because look, it's Twilight. Like, come on. You've got a werewolf imprinting on a vampire human baby. You can get away with it. You can get away with it. But anyway, I'm so glad you actually changed your mind and enjoyed the Twilight series. And you know, maybe we can do a rewatch sometime soon, and that would make me very happy. But for a slightly more updated YA movie,
yes,
we watched To All the Boys.
Yes,
I've loved before, forever and always. Lara Jean something. It was a very long title. But the last one, and I cried.
The trilogy.
A lot.
I did not. Just pull it out there. So what did you think about the movie? So you read the books?
I read all
as
the books,
with Twilight, so...
I don't really remember what happened in the
theme.
last book, if I'm honest. It's the one I don't remember.
The movie or the book?
The book. We just watched the movie. My
Sorry.
memory's not that bad. But I thought the movie was great. I think the first To All the Boys movie was like 90s rom-com done well. You know? The second one was your typical love triangle, kind of overdone, whatever, but it's alright. This third one I loved. It just felt like realistic, you know? Like, they kept making choices, and I kept thinking, oh, I didn't think they'd do that. And I'm so glad they did. You know, like, spoiler alert, as usual. But, you know, making the choice for her not to tell him about not getting into Stanford, I thought that'd last the whole movie. And it lasted a little while, but enough that I wasn't hating it. Enough that it still felt realistic. And I don't know, like, the way their kind of relationship was, you know, on the rocks, it felt believable, you know? And I think that's kind of... I feel like that's what the characters deserved. Like, it deserved a good end. Like, it was a good franchise. I liked it. How about you, James?
Yeah, I would say I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It's on Netflix, easy watch. As what Tara said before, I think the pacing of the movie was quite good. So a lot of these decisions, so it was about telling, what was the guy's name again? The boyfriend? Oh, putting Tara on the spot here.
You know how I just said I didn't forget a movie we just watched? Lara Jean and Peter Kavinsky.
Cool.
Peter Kavinsky.
So...
Jesus.
Lara Jean needed to tell Peter about not getting to Stanford. And I think in many movies, I think they would have dragged it on for an hour. Her just constantly avoiding him, wanting to bring it up, but for some reason always, you know, I guess something happens. But in this movie, I think they timed it perfectly when she told him. And then afterwards, so then... what Peter decides is, you know, he interacted very well. He decided, well, you know, you can go to a university nearby and then transfer to Stanford. Because they both wanted to go to Stanford. That's what the impression we had, right? But Lara Jean's sister said, honestly, I think you'd love NYU. And she thought there was no issue like New York, but they had a school trip, and where did they go? Oh, conveniently, they went to New York City, and she fell in love with New York, and then she decided. So the nearby university, near Stanford, was only an hour drive. So you know, not really even long distance, right? New York to Stanford is what, about, I think it was a day and a half drive. So that is pretty long distance, I would say.
Yeah, and the time difference really affects relationships as well.
So then she had a second crushing news she had to tell Peter. And that also was timed well. I think they made it so we weren't just waiting for the reveal and actually made you still be emotionally invested with the characters instead of just like waiting and just like, come on, just tell him.
Totally,
Like, what are you doing? And I think it was just a really nice movie displaying how long distance or the situation of high school sweethearts, the problems they face when, America's so big, specifically America, how couples can and cannot deal with long-term distances.
So, I think it was Saturday, we watched All the Boys.
Yes.
And then on Sunday, we binged the whole first season of The Boys.
The Boys.
Boys.
So this Saturday was Valentine's Day. So a very romantic series to watch.
I love a bit of blood and gore. It's so good. Oh, what a series. I can't wait for season 2. What were your initial thoughts?
So Tara actually knew about this series because she watched a YouTube video about
the laser baby, the Michael Reeves, how to build a laser baby. I love Michael Reeves.
So she showed me the trailer and it looked great. It looked awesome. But I forgot about it. So what, just from now on, there's going to be spoilers, whatever we talk about. So the very first scene of the show, you see a guy, a bit passive, not very confident with his girlfriend. They talk about, should we get dinner? Then they walk slightly a bit off the pavement and bang! The girlfriend dies. She gets run over by one of the superheroes. So the premise of the show... By
run over, he literally means run over. He runs through her.
Not even over, right? The premise of the show is there's a group of superheroes and they're in this civilization. And that actually is quite interesting take of how essentially they're viewing the superheroes as a company and viewing it how you'd approach this in the real world of like marketing, how like politicians would use these super beings in their, I guess, campaign to get whatever position they want, right? And that's actually my favorite part of the show, which it looks into how the superheroes are used as pawns in a sense. And also, how superheroes, if they were in real life, they'll be bloody dicks.
Exactly. It's like how fame and power just corrupts, you know? You give these people, like, literally the most powerful beings on Earth, and then you expect them not to be assholes? Like, you know what I mean? It's just so realistic because, the people in our world, celebrities and famous people, when you do have power, not everyone, but it does have that power to corrupt. And I think it does such a good job of it. Especially kind of also seeing it through the eyes of Starlight, who is more of the superheroes, but she's new and she's not yet
naive.
Exactly, she doesn't understand the sad realism of what is actually happening and how most of it's just fake. But yeah, what a great show.
Yes, it is 15 plus, so kids.
18 in some of them.
There is a lot of blood. There is a lot of blood.
Oh, it's wicked though.
It is awesome. It is awesome. And it is just a mockery of the Justice League, basically. Avengers, Justice League. But Justice League, because there is a Superman figure who is not a Superman, let's be honest, right?
But he plays it so well.
He's weird. He's really weird.
Oh yeah, yes, no, he is really weird. There's some weird relationships in there. But also he was like raised in a lab, like, I mean, not trying to sympathise with his character, he's awful, but yeah, weird as hell. Yeah, so that's kind of all the things we've been watching. In the kind of movie industry news, I think it would kind of be weird not to talk about the Joss Whedon news.
Yes, of course.
Which, not gonna lie, I'm really, really just disappointed in. I guess kind of like we were saying, a lot of these people, especially in the film industry, when you've got that kind of power over people, most people that I look up to are probably assholes. It's just kind of sad to see it kind of confirmed. Joss Whedon's made like a lot of my favourite things, like Buffy, Firefly, Doctor Horrible, Doll's House, The Avengers. And I mean, yeah, for people who don't know, a lot of cast members have come out and just kind of said that he's created a very toxic environment. It's just a shame. Like Charisma Carpenter from Buffy, basically when she was pregnant, he said some really horrible stuff to her, indicating maybe she should get rid of the baby, things like that, things that should never be said. And also, this is not just like Buffy was ages ago. This seems like a pattern of just bullying and toxic environments. But yeah, as much as I would bring it up just to, because I think it'd be weird not to, I just want to say, I'm really glad that, we're not, past cancelling people for these reasons. I feel like if this stuff had come up, a few years ago, people would be like, oh, what's the big deal,
Yeah.
And I say cancelling, cancel culture doesn't exist. I'm sure people forget about this, sadly. But I just think it's, especially, in these kind of roles, it's very easy to be like, oh, that's just the way it is. That's just the way the industry is. That's just, these people just need to put up with it. But no one needs to put up with any of that, ever, Yeah, it's like with Ellen, with people coming out against Ellen, and saying, basically she was a bully. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
I think, like we were talking about The Boys, even if you got power, it doesn't mean you have to be a dick, really. And it's sad that so many people who have, quite a privileged position, they abuse that power. And in those situations as well, for, I guess, their, people they hire, or even just work colleagues, that it doesn't have to be they are above them in the position. It's sad that people, I guess, thrive on feeling like they're more superior over someone, which is just as a human being, why would that make you happy, to make someone feel so small? In a more sort of, because these people obviously want to be successful, right? And if they want to, at least in Josh Whedon's case, where you want your product, the show or movie, to be the best thing it can be, you'd want an environment to be as positive as possible, not to sort of scare them into working hard. I feel lots of people would tell you that those tactics don't work. Exactly. It will just either get them, they'll either go down a rabbit hole and just their performance will get even worse, and then this spirals, because then they'll keep shouting at you, or they'll just have a mental breakdown, which obviously we're in a lockdown where mental health is a very big issue now, of just trying to stay sane, finding stuff to do. But yeah, it's just hard seeing people who you would look up to, and just to see how they mistreat people, which is just how much money, how much power, you can't treat people wrong. Yeah. And that's been sadly a common theme between a lot of people recently in the industry.
Yeah, it's not okay. Yeah. Okay. So, on that light note, well, I guess what I will say is, hopefully this is a sign that things will get better and things will change, and people realise, that's not normal, that's not the usual behaviour, and it shouldn't be. Because also, there's plenty of people who, treat their colleagues well and treat the people they work with well and make great stuff. There's a lot of, not a lot of people, but, there's plenty of people saying, oh, he's an artist, whatever. It's nothing is worth, doing harm to others, really. But yeah, hopefully this is the mark of change, and for us valuing kind of good people more than powerful people, in a way.
Yeah, I do agree of that. It's good these new stories are coming out and they're not staying hidden, which is very easy for it to be just, you put it under the rug and no one will report it. But I'm glad we are learning more about these situations so that even more people can step forward, and then we can just take away these toxic work environments, which is not good for anyone, whatever industry, whether it's the movie industry or even just whatever your 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I really don't know much about this in the sports world. I'm sure the sports world is toxic as hell. I mean, I don't know how much you know about that stuff, but...
Well, what I would say is Jose Mourinho, if we want to pull a name out there, he is known to be quite confrontational to his players, but in a way to create reactions. So I think in the football world, and especially, men's football, I guess there's this sort of notion of the manager trying to be like a tough dad or something, like really trying to push it. But so I guess Jose Mourinho would publicly call out his players, for example, which I guess in a normal situation you'd say is a bad thing. And honestly, I don't agree with that tactic. But at the same time, these tactics can work in a sense of they do push a player to work harder. But I would argue that if you gave them a bit more love, that will probably help those type of situations better.
Yeah.
Even if there are some cases where if you push someone hard, they do the well, I think most people will not respond to such criticism, especially in such, with these type of things as well, as in the public eye, at least in football, where if a manager calls your name out, you are, especially in the social media world, you're instantly trending, everyone's talking about you, and then that does filter back to you, even if they don't check social media. Even friends and family will talk to them about it, and it's hard to escape these environments, especially with social media out there.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with films and football and other sports and things like that. It's the kind of, that's the status quo, that's the norm, and I hope that changes. We'll see. But I think we recently actually watched a film called Tigers by Ronnie Sandel, which looked at mental health in sport. I think that was so interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't really know too much about that side of sport, or any side of sport, as our regular listeners will know. But I just hope that's, toxic environments start to be broken down, and we get a better workplace for everyone, because at the end of the day, these are still people's jobs, like we act because they're these stars, they don't deserve the same kind of safe and healthy workplaces as we all do, in a way we're like, but they earn this much money, they're famous, they should be able to put up with the pressure, they have like obligations, which a little bit, but also like no one deserves to be made to feel like shit,
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Premier League.
Yes, so let's have a roundup of the Premier League. I would say, everyone who's following the Premier League, 4 weeks ago, the Premier League was looking so exciting. There were like 4 to 5 teams: Man City, Man United, Leicester, Chelsea, Liverpool. Maybe not Chelsea, but we're looking like...
Arsenal?
We don't speak of Arsenal in this podcast. Looking like they had a chance for the title. It was looking really close. But now, today, on the 15th of February, Man City are 7 points clear. Their nearest rivals, Man United, of all teams, with a game in hand. So, let's just say they win their game. They're at least, would say, 10 points ahead of any team. Looking like a Man City title, comfortably as well. Their rival, Liverpool, who many would say are, Man City, Liverpool are the 2 best teams in the league, are down in 6th right now. That's after West Ham winning today. West Ham are in front of Liverpool, guys. This has been an amazing season.
Did you just say it's been quite boring?
Well, that's what I'm getting to. It's been a very unpredictable season. But now looking at the table, like I said, Man City are essentially at least 7 points clear. Honestly, they've won the title, so we already know who's going to win, and we've got 15 games more. And then if we're looking at relegation, Fulham, who are in 18th, are 7 points behind 17th place Newcastle. Sure, Fulham have played one game less, but West Brom, Sheffield United look like they're down, so maybe there's one position up still to fight for relegation, but Fulham, West Brom and Sheffield United look like they're going down. With West Brom, Sheffield United being... Oh no, sorry. With Fulham and West Brom being two of the three promoted clubs. So to us, the important positions are essentially decided. Who's going down, who's going to win the league. Top four is looking very interesting. Will Liverpool make top four? If you asked anyone at the start of the season, Liverpool won't make top four, no one would have taken that bet. But right now they're six, behind West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester, Man United, Man City.
Why is this?
Well, Liverpool's lost 3 games in a row, essentially.
They've been brutal games as well.
Yeah.
But why? Like, is there a change in management? Like, it's morale? It's COVID?
Well...
are the good players still there? Why are they so shit?
So for the Liverpool, I don't want to give them excuses, but... And this is... So it's very hard to decide how COVID has impacted sports in general. I think that how unpredictable the Premier League has been is because of COVID. Such a short turnaround. Football players, as you know, like you mentioned before, in regards to mental health, but sure, they earn a lot of money, but they do need a break as well. And because of COVID and, you know, because of the higher ups wanting to make up, because they have lost money, as much money as possible. They've been playing so many games, you know, maybe twice a week, you know, that fatigue and injuries have been a big part. And for Liverpool, they've lost their potentially most important piece in Van Dijk. He was, you know, very early in the season he's out for the rest of the season. And then they've had lots of injuries to Fabinho, Matip, who I think is out for the rest of the season. Gomez is out for I don't know how long as well. Essentially, Liverpool have had a lot of injuries in defence. And look, we're not trying to give any excuses for them, but they have been hit with injuries. And they've conceded a lot of goals in their last 3 games. So will they make the top 4? I probably would say yes, and there are reasons to why they've dropped off because of injuries, but yeah, I think COVID has definitely hit football a lot, at least physically on players. Sure, they're making a lot of money. That's not put against football players, but they are definitely fatigued and tired, and the physical well-being definitely needs to be taken into account for the future of these players, right? But Man City gonna win. To us, yeah, is the Premier League, is it gonna finish a boring last 15 games? Who knows?
Hasn't it always been boring?
It has not.
Do you know what is interesting? And maybe you can tell me, maybe I'm wrong. The National League, the 5th tier, is looking quite interesting, right?
Yes, it is looking quite interesting.
Especially with the news this week of the new owners of Wrexham. Wrexham being in the 5th league, right? Oh no, the 5th tier.
Of English football.
Yes. The 5th tier, the Welsh team Wrexham. I honestly have never heard of them in my life. Have you? I mean,
I've heard them. I've watched a few games.
Okay. Are they good?
Worked. Well, you just said the 5th league in 5th tier.
They are the third oldest club in the world. That is pretty amazing.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep, which is probably why Ryan Reynolds and Robert McElhenney. Bloody hell. I'm Irish and I'm a traitor to my race. McElhenney? The guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, have bought Wrexham, which is, I guess, a shock. Not much of a shock. They planned it last year, but it was confirmed this week or last week. Thoughts? Why?
Clearly celebrities can get bored of COVID too. Right.
It's funny that they say they're not even that into football anyway. I think it's just, I mean, they were saying let's try something new, and
Clearly
I
it's new for them, I'd say.
I mean, there was kind of thoughts of maybe they want to make a documentary about it, which I think could be kind of cool considering how old the club is. And
Sure.
I do love an underdog story. Honestly, I don't want to hear about the Premier League teams. I want to hear about freaking fifth tier. Like, what is happening there? You can't have someone betting on a pucker pie in Premier League. I'll tell you about that. I mean, was that Premier League?
That was the FA Cup.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I mean, it's still higher than I thought it would be. That was insane.
Yes.
I don't know how many years old that is, but yeah. So that is some news, and also some really good news, I would say. Ryan and Robert, as we are on first time names, as I cannot pronounce his surname. Ryan and Rob have decided to pay back the furlough for the staff.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, last year, back in March, they decided to get furlough, obviously, as most places have done, but only take 80% salary. As kind of a sacrifice for the football club to ensure it kept going. And I mean, this is such a nice news story because, their sacrifice has paid off and their dedication to the team has paid off, and they are now going to get the money that they lost over the last year back.
That's awesome.
Which
that
is great news, yeah. And I mean, I hope we maybe see it in other clubs, but for now, good on you guys. Thanks, Rob and Ryan. Come on the show.
I mean, I don't know their mascot, but surely they have to change to Deadpool now, right?
Oh, Wrexham with a freaking Deadpool logo. Or, Deadpool as their mascot, come on the pitch at half time. Oh my god. And, half the time, it's, a random guy. Half the time, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Wow, that would be amazing. It would be very sweaty, but...
Actually, I'm not sure if Ryan will want to come on our podcast.
Oh.
Because my hot take of the week, our new section... Deadpool was good.
Ooh.
Kickass did it better.
I haven't seen both movies recently enough.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would say Deadpool was a lot funnier.
I don't know. Sorry, Ryan. I feel like it was trying too hard.
I think maybe you didn't get Deadpool then because the performance
I
alone
loved it.
of
I loved
Ryan
it.
Reynolds.
That's the thing. Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, amazing.
But Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
Exactly. You can't have a whole movie franchise on one person. Kickass was good. Hit Girl was amazing. The other people were great. It takes a team, Deadpool was brilliant. The shaved head girl, cool, whatever. The big guy, cool, whatever. I don't even remember who they are.
Okay. What I would say is, so both movies are kind of try to sort of instill this sort of, what are they called, vigilante type. I wouldn't say Deadpool's a vigilante, but, they're not the Supermans of the world. They're not like Boy Scouts like Captain America.
Mm.
I think Kick-Ass was a nice stepping stone for what is Deadpool, elevating that, breaking the fourth wall, rude, just funny type of superhero that Kick-Ass showed us elements of it, whilst Deadpool perfected what was this craft of funny superheroes.
I think funny elements, maybe Deadpool wins.
100%.
I don't know. But yeah, I will give you that. I just think the heart of the movie, it's Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass is funny. It's also almost made me cry. You know what I mean? With the whole Hit Girl and Nicolas Cage, can't remember his actual name, but Nicolas Cage with this. I mean, Nicolas Cage was great in that movie. That was a good Nicolas Cage movie. But there was just so much story in it, and at the end of the day, it was just a kid with absolutely no power, just getting beaten the shit out of, which is funny as fuck. Like, I don't know. And honestly, Hit Girl did carry that movie, but Deadpool carried Deadpool. So, like, and also Aaron Taylor Johnson. You know, it's just 3 words.
Okay,
you win it in 3 words.
I think we clearly see why Kickass might be someone's favourite here.
Aaron, come on the show. I guess agree to disagree.
Well, I'll wait for you to agree with me, but that's fine.
Disagree. Look, you know what? Rewatch it. We'll come back on the pod and we'll discuss it.
I would love to, just to see whether you would know. Would you think Deadpool or Kickass has the higher IMDb rating?
Probably Deadpool.
You would be correct in that.
That's because people are trash. Look, you can't say no to Ryan Reynolds. I get it. He's great.
I just think...
As a story, like Deadpool, his wife died or something, and then he's really funny and really cool, and I don't remember anything else that fucking happens.
I think they're kind of aiming for different things. If you want a comedy, Deadpool wins hands down, and that's it, really.
I don't know.
I really do think.
I mean, I don't even know what our swearing tolerance is on this podcast.
But I think we can
maybe we'll beef it, but a fucking 11-year-old girl saying the word cunt is funny as fuck. And I was like 12 when I watched that movie. It was great. It was I wanted to be Hit Girl.
I think Deadpool will... If you watched it now, you'd find Deadpool funnier. Maybe as a kid, Kickass might have seemed funny. I don't even remember Kickass being that funny, to tell you the truth.
We can't have this argument when we haven't seen it
That
recently,
is fair enough.
So that's a hot take for another day.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Table it, we'll come back to it. But although you're wrong about that, were you right in your fantasy picks of this week, James?
That is a very good question. Often it's not. And last week, you know, we were on a podcast where Ollie Watkins scored for me. So, you know, got good points. He got 9 points for me. And I got a very nice 73 points.
Nice.
But I was extremely frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that? I got 73 points, sure. But I had 20... Let me count this out. 29 points on the bench. Between 3 players, I had 28 points.
But you still got 73 points, James.
But that's not how it works. If I've missed out on 28 points, where one of my players, who I started, had a red card. So what did he give me? A big, fat 0. It could have been a 100-point week, but yet it was not. But let's move on to this week. Currently, the game... So there's a game... that just finished. Chelsea beat Newcastle 2-0. So well done to Tuchel, their new manager. Tuchel.
Tuchel. That's a great name.
Yes.
How new is he?
Frank Lampard got fired maybe 2 weeks ago.
Oh. I mean, that's a name I know.
I can't remember his first name.
Why did he get fired?
Because Chelsea were rubbish.
Oh, fair.
Basically.
Fair. Sorry, Lampard. Bye-bye.
Lampard did great last season, but they spent about, just a little bit of maybe 150 million.
Oh.
Close to 200, I think. And if anything, they got, their team didn't feel as good as last year. So Lampard had to go, but, he hasn't got that much experience. But anyway, back to more important things. Fantasy team. So currently it's a double game week, as I mentioned last week, and I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm currently on 97 points. A fantastic week. I cannot hide my elation.
You sound over the moon.
And it's looking like I'm at least getting 3 more points, which will cap it off as 100. I can't really complain too much. I think that's a great way to end the fantasy segment. Me being happy
gosh, yeah.
is a very rare thing in this frustrating game. So come back for next week, and I'm sure I'll be ripping my hair out.
Let's hope. I mean, no.
Until then, I will cherish this 103-digit score.
Very, very nice, James. Very, very nice. You know what? Next week, bring it on. Hey. Speaking of. As our regular listeners will know, our last sports film of the week that we wanted to watch and then feedback about was
the comedy sports show Bring It On.
Yes, the cheerleading movie from the 2000s.
6 out of 10 IMDb.
Unfair. What do you think?
So I was going in, not much expectations, as the 6 out of 10 IMDb. I did not know this rating. I think sometimes knowing a rating... Actually, you know what? I would like to say, and I don't know whether you would agree with me, Tara, knowing a low rating for a movie actually, I think, helps. Because you go in thinking it's going to be a rubbish movie. So I think it gives you a sense of freedom to enjoy this rubbish movie. And then you see great elements. Whilst if you find out a movie's, let's say, 8.9 rated, maybe I just deal poorly with expectation. But I think I can often be disappointed. What do you think?
I think you, in particular, are someone who really gets hyped up for movies, and if it doesn't live up, you're not happy.
I think I would agree with that, but I would say there's so much good content out in there in the world that you do need a site or metric you can trust to decide whether you want to watch something, because there's so much out there you're not going to watch it all. So IMDb, I think, is one of the more reliable scores out there. For example, Rotten Tomatoes is something I don't really look at, because if people enjoy it, it's going to get a high sort of 98, 85% rating. It doesn't really give me much on the quality.
Yeah, it's not specific enough. It's just yes or no with Rotten Tomatoes. But I will say, there's an element of, if you like something, you like something. Like, Bring It On, what was that, 6 point something, right?
6.
I think if you saw that, you would have watched it. And did you like the movie?
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
There you go. So sometimes you just need to go for it. But what did you think of the movie in general?
Yeah, so it's a movie about cheerleaders, essentially, and about this girl who's in, I think, her final year of high school.
Torrance. What a name is Torrance, but Kirsten Dunst. Brilliant.
And we find out that their school is like the reigning 5-time world or regional champion of cheerleading.
Yeah, with the shit football team.
But it turns out that their routine was stolen. One of their, I guess, the former captain stole the routine.
It's cold in here. It must be some clovers in the atmosphere. With Gabrielle Union.
Yes. And so the movie's about these two cheerleading teams or schools where they're deciding who's the best, basically. And what I really liked about this movie was, go straight to the end, is the main school didn't win. And that was the correct decision. I think for the Pitch Perfect fans out there, if you watched that movie and decided that the trumpets, the
Troublemakers
didn't have a better song than the
oh, I don't know. The gals.
The gals, you would be wrong. And in this movie,
the Clovers
smashed
it. Incredible.
By far the best team, and they won. They were deserving winners. And I really like that in these movies. I think you can predict one thing. You'd be like, okay, so they have their beginning struggle of, they can't find their identity because someone stole their routine. Oh, they've been working so hard. They've been working so hard for these 2 weeks when normally it takes maybe 3 months, 4 months, and they're going to win the championship. But no, they were realistic. They got second place, which is a great achievement.
Yeah.
And the deserving winners won.
And I think the tropes it did kind of fall into, the whole kind of cool Eliza Dushku actually coming on the team, and then falling in love with the geeky Cliff? Was his name Cliff? Cliff and Torrance, yeah, wow. It did it so well, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, yeah, these tropes are annoying because they happen again and again. But if it's done right, 2000s style, like, you gotta love it.
Very
And
2000s movie.
that,
Very 2000s.
my favourite scenes, probably, the tryout scene.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Speaking of Pitch Perfect, really remind me of Pitch Perfect.
Ooh.
And, you know, like, I don't think copying is a bad thing, although maybe this taught us that it is a bad thing. But, you know, I you know, obviously things get inspiration from other things, but both Pitch Perfect and Bring It On, those audition scenes are brilliant. And then a scene I don't think anyone has ripped off, I've not seen it because it is so weird but wonderful, was the toothbrushing scene.
Oh,
No
yeah.
words, just teeth. And, you know, tension. It was wicked.
Yeah, and I think my favourite part was the Clover's final performance, which, as I said, deserving winners.
And how about the, hey Mickey? Hey
Hey,
Mickey!
Mickey.
I mean, what an end scene.
Awesome.
What an end scene. You know, they say Marvel does end of credit scenes well, but they did not want to bring it on, I tell you.
Maybe that was the origin of the end of credit scenes.
Exactly. Let's pick our next film to talk about.
Yes, please. I picked last week, so
I picked last week. What is wrong with your memory?
I'm sure
I'm fairly sure I picked last
Yes,
week.
you're right. You
I
randomised
did.
it. Well, I guess it's me this
I
week.
guess it's you. What have we got today?
Okay. So next week, or for the next podcast, we'll be watching A League of Their Own.
A League of Their Own. Oh, I'm excited for this one. Do you know much about it?
I have never heard of it.
I think, I could be wrong, this is the film about the female players. It's hard when you Google it because obviously it's all just the TV show. Yeah, A League of Their Own. Dottie and Kit are drafted into a professional baseball league along with several other women. However, things take a turn when Jimmy, an alcoholic and a former star, is forced to manage them. So, yeah, I'm excited for that.
Another a 90s movie, so you gotta love
About
that.
all-girls sport. Well, actually, sorry, cheerleading wasn't an all-girls sport. That was very
Oh,
sexist.
we've got
of
Tom
me.
Hanks.
We got them all.
Madonna.
Madonna.
Yeah. If we're talking about the same movie. then
Yeah.
yes. And a 7.3 rating. So I think a reasonable rating for this type of movie. So I am looking forward to it.
Okay, I cannot wait. Speaking of people who are in a league of their own,
Oh.
we're coming on to our top creators of this week.
Yes.
And Trin Lavelle just smashed it, honestly. I mean, not just this week, I've just been watching a ton of her videos, but she's another commentary YouTuber, which I've really been enjoying these days. I don't know what it is about, you know, watching something and then watch someone else talk about something. But, you know, maybe that's what our listeners love as well. So,
Hope so.
but she actually made, if anyone's interested, she actually made a video on Bring It On from the perspective of her, who she was doing cheerleading since she was about 6 years old. So it's kind of like talking about the movie, but also like criticizing it from a cheerleading point of view. Which I think it scored quite high on. I think they did all right. But she also made some great Twilight videos, which we watched. Which anyone talking about Twilight, again, like, James, what do you think of making this the Twilight podcast? Because I'm not against it.
Breaking Dawn Part 1 made me very tempted. But then Breaking Dawn Part 2 ends this discussion.
Oh, fair enough.
I think we can let it be a vision.
He did it! How about you, James? Who's your top content of the week?
Yeah, so normally I'll give hopefully great suggestions. Should you want to get into sport a bit more or just want other sports podcasts. But this Saturday I was meant to be doing my coursework, but I found myself in a YouTube rabbit hole, as one does. And I was rewatching, as I've watched them before, I was watching The Pizza Show. And The Pizza Show is a show about pizza. It's really not that, difficult or
It's making me hungry already just talking about it.
Exactly. So it's the host is Frank Pinello, and what he does is he goes to different parts of America to talk about the different sort of styles, like so New York, Detroit, etc. And then in season 2, I don't know if it's exclusively, but he goes all across Italy to, compare, I guess, Roman pizza, so a bit thinner, a bit crisper.
Oh, stop.
Neapolitan, the classic. And honestly, it's just a good excuse to watch pizza and then ultimately eat pizza. It's a nice background show, is what I'd say, and which is why my coursework is still yet to be finished. So.
Well, good luck with your coursework, James. I think
you.
maybe
I will need it.
maybe after this podcast, order a pizza.
Well, now you've said it. We have to right now.
Well, I guess that ends today's podcast. So thank you all for listening.
Have a good day and final shots.
Thank you for listening.